Senator Cotton.
Thank you, Secretary Wilson, General Goldfein, for your testimony today. I know you spoke a little bit earlier about what would happen if the Air Force returned to sequester-level budgets. Let's hope that doesn't happen. It usually hasn't happened since 2013. But General Goldfein, I'd like you to address what would happen under an alternative scenario that some people in Congress are talking about. Let's suppose you got a full-year continuing resolution. So Congress couldn't reach an agreement to lift the budget caps and pass the normal annual spending bills the way we have the last 2 years. So Congress throws up its hands sometimes later this summer or early fall and says, you know what, we're just going to have a full-year continuing resolution for all of fiscal year 2020. You'll get exactly what you got last year. What would that impact be?
Thanks, sir. I'll just give you a few examples of what that would mean for us because, of course, a year-long CR we would assume would be to execute with no new starts at the 19 levels. So new mission MILCON, KC-46, F-35, TX would all stop. That would affect about 16 projects that would stop and therefore stop our ability to bed down because you have to have the infrastructure to bed down the weapon systems. We have about 18 current mission MILCON projects that would cease and stop that would affect our readiness. Any procurement RDT&E new starts would stop. That would affect over 89 programs in the United States Air Force for an Air Force that's working hard to modernize that this committee has supported. And if it goes anything more than 6 months, it would put our in-strike growth at risk because we will not be able to bring on the additional airmen we need, not to have mission growth, but actually to fill our formations to do the missions that we're already doing. So it would have a significantly negative impact.
So almost the worst thing imaginable.
Yes, sir.
Sequester would be the worst thing, but it's hard to imagine we would go back to the actual sequester levels. But a proposal that's being batted around to have a full-year continuing resolution, almost the worst thing imaginable.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for that. A couple NDAAs ago, the Congress directed the Air Force to begin to transition a significant number of UAV pilots to enlisted ranks, an issue on which I've worked, and Senator King and Senator Jones and I are working together on this pilot issue. Could you tell us how that's going, what we've learned from it?
Sure, no surprises. As you might imagine, what we learned is our enlisted force can do anything we ask them to do. And the enlisted members who have been in the, we put them in the RQ4, the Global Hawk program, and they perform brilliantly. We've now expanded the discussion, though, because as we work through in space, and look at building the force we need to fight and win in a contested environment. Today, all constellations are being flown by our young enlisted force. We have 7 members right now who are on duty who are running GPS for the globe right now at Schriever Air Force Base. So the question we're asking is, what is the future of the enlisted operator when you look at space transitioning to a contested domain and high-altitude ISR going forward? And is there a broader discussion that we're having about that enlisted operator in high-altitude ISR when it's above the atmosphere and below the atmosphere? And is there a career path where someone can now go into the business of ISR as an enlisted operator and transition between the two? So we're taking the lessons we learned from where we are today and now expanding that discussion, and that's where I think we're going to land.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to talk about the B-21 budget request. I have occasional hearings on the B-21 and its progress in a closed setting, so we can ensure that 20 years from now, people don't look back on some of the decisions made now as we do look back on the F-35. Last year, the budget request was $2.3 billion. This year, it's $3 billion. Secretary Wilson, in this setting, could you tell us a little bit more about why we've seen that increase and what the department plans to do with it?
Senator, we're moving forward with the research, development, test, and evaluation of this new aircraft. We had the critical design review it was late last year, fourth quarter last year, and the program is on track and on schedule.
Okay, General Goldfein, anything to add?
No, sir, same.
I know we're projected at 100 minimum aircraft. Given the threat environment we face and the posture review that you've undertaken, can you envision a scenario in where we need to have more than 100 B-21s?
I can, sir, and not surprisingly, when we did our analysis of the Air Force we need, which was over 2,000 computer iterations of different force elements against the latest combatant commander O-plans, operational plans, and the projection of the threat in the 25 to 2030 timeframe, no surprise that long-range aviation was in the shortest supply and in the greatest demand. So tankers, bombers, long-range ISR and command and control, those are where you're seeing the largest amount of growth required for the Air Force we need. So I do see an environment where the bombers would be a larger number required.
And over the long run, that would produce a lower average unit cost, I would assume, right?
It would.
Okay. Thank you both for your testimony. Secretary Wilson, thank you for your service. We're sorry to see you leave. I guess, though, congratulations is in order to see you leave Washington.
I was released early for good behavior.
Very well. Thank you all.